And by the way, I believe that we should build K-12 schools where entrepreneurship is taught in first grade. Start people in nurseries to teach them to, I'll sell you 2 blocks for 1 block, and and I'll make I'll be a trader, in first grade or second grade, because this is something. But then the enemy is us, as you point out, which is the teachers. So we need the training of people who know how to teach and know how to teach entrepreneurship, because the weakest link in all of this, and in any business school or any education institution, is faculty.
On the entrepreneurship, in the engineering, the faculties should be like the BEds and MEds in school. They should also have technical education plus
teaching. Yeah. And I think that is in better institutions that does happen. I mean, for instance, when we get hired at Kellogg as faculty, we go through teaching training. We are taught best practices. They videotape our classes. They give us feedback. But yes, I think that the better institutions will end up teaching teachers how to teach. But just this observation that I think entrepreneurship education needs to be taken back into the schools, because by the time we produce the 10 plus 2 people, we have already made them brain dead. By rote, learning by rote and doing whatever, following the rules. We need to teach third graders how to break rules. Right? I mean, break rules in the right way, not just go out and beat up people. But that is something that I'll leave that for a future thought. Maybe they'll have a undergraduate or a K-12 institution next that they can start off. Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for coming, and I hope you found a few of these remarks useful. Good luck.
So quickly, let me steal 10 minutes. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Dr. Pradeep Racherla. I'm the program director for Woxsen. My job today is to briefly talk about what we are doing at Woxsen. And I'm incredibly thankful to Dr. Sawhney for telling you what we actually do. So my job becomes much easier. All I can say is everything Dr. Sawhney said, we plan to do that at Woxsen, as simple as that. But I'm not going to leave you that easily. So, all of us are entrepreneurs. This is one of my favorite quotes. He's the founder, or let's say the co-founder of LinkedIn. He has a very inspiring way of talking about entrepreneurship, right? And if you think about it, it is in our basic DNA to create. All of us are entrepreneurs at heart. Right from the time when you were 3-4 years old and you wanted to steal that laddu from your mom's kitchen, right? You plotted for it, right? And then even if your mom or dad told you not to do it, you still plotted for it, you had a plan, and then you stole that laddu, right? And it's a big, big achievement for all of us when we did that. But then slowly we became older, and then we somehow lost that killer instinct. We somehow lost that go-getting kind of an attitude, right? So the question is, all of us have a plan, right? Some of us want to, I'm pretty sure there are so many in this room right now who have incredible ideas. And many of you actually talked about it, right? Now you want to go out and start ventures of your own, but then there are difficulties. Now there are so many others in this room who are part of organizations, right? You have incredible ideas. Many of you feel that you are much better than your bosses. You can do a much better job. But the problem is you don't have the courage, you don't have the skill set, you don't have the right attitude to take that plunge and make a difference in your organization. And that's a problem too, right? So in that sense, we all have a big plan for life, and we know how plans work, right? Many of you must have seen this going around in LinkedIn, right? It's actually from a website on a wealth management company, but then it appropriately sums up our lives. More importantly, lives of entrepreneurs, right? So we have plans, but nothing really works out as planned. So the question is, what can we do about it? And especially, what can we do about it in a country like India, where, as Dr. Sawhney said, the system is still not mature enough. The system is still not geared to support and develop entrepreneurs, right? So in that sense, being an entrepreneur is about juggling multiple balls, each one bigger than the other. Dr. Sawhney, I would like to add 2 more balls to what you said, right? One of the bigger problems is family, right? I want to get married, so that means starting up on my own is maybe not a good idea, because nobody in this room will probably give their daughter or son away to an aspiring entrepreneur. That's a problem. I still want to get married, right? If I'm within an organization, I want to do something exciting, I want to change the culture, I want to create a new product, create a new revenue source, blah, blah, blah. The problem is your boss, or at least we think the problem is your boss. Of course, my boss always used to say, listen, Pradeep, I'm your boss because of a reason. So trust me, I'm better than you. But anyway, I never really believed you that. Not you, Dr. Narasimhan. Anyway, so this is basically the problem. We all know the problem. And as Dr. Sawhney said, what is the solution? The solution is pretty simple. We ask ourselves a very simple question. Is it possible in a country like India to create an ecosystem which develops and nurtures entrepreneurs? Right? But more importantly, is it possible, even if these people are not starting businesses of their own, to create an entrepreneurial mindset, an entrepreneurial skill set that will put them in good stead if they want to do something different, if they want to go out and change the world? As simple as that. So that's essentially the Woxsen vision. That's essentially the reason why Woxsen was founded, and that's essentially the reason why we all exist as Woxsen's employees. So my job today is to give you a flavor, a brief flavor of what we are trying to do inside Woxsen, in the hopes that if you have more questions about it, then you can come back to us and we can give you much lengthier answers. So, what does it take to create an ecosystem? We all talk about ecosystems. We all use the word ecosystems in a very loose manner. But then, what does it really take to create an ecosystem? Especially, imagine a school which is an ecosystem for entrepreneurs, right? That's not an easy task because schools are essentially designed to create babus or managers, right? They are taught, or the professors are typically trained to teach linear methods, right? But here, that's not the case. So what we have, after talking to many, many people, experts and entrepreneurs and so on and so forth, we have arrived at a point where we believe that we have the right kind of system, the right kind of curriculum that does develop and nurture entrepreneurial thinking, right? So in that sense, we basically divided our curriculum into 4 parts. One is what we call as the business foundation core. The second one is the functional competence core. The third one is what we call as the enterprise management core. And all these are wrapped up in immersive experiences, right? So what exactly are we trying to teach in the business foundation core? Now these are some of the basic skills that you need to think like an entrepreneur. Like some of the things Dr. Sawhney mentioned in his presentation, right? Do you have a business plan? Is it possible for you to create a business plan around your idea, which could be nascent? The second question is, do you think you have an idea? Do you know that your idea is good? Do you know that your idea or the product that you intend to develop is actually a product that will solve your customers' problems? How do you arrive at that point, right? The question that you have to ask yourself is, how do I empathize with my customers? How do I see my products and services from the customer's viewpoint and not from my viewpoint, which is more a deterministic viewpoint, right? So we have classes like design thinking. We have classes like business plan development, wedding business plans, things like that, which will take you through a structured process so that at the end of that core, right, you have the skills that are necessary for you to build a plan around your idea, right? But it doesn't stop there. Because the second question you have to ask yourself is, how do you build the functional areas within your startup or within your organization, right? For example, how much do you invest in IT? Is it 50,000 rupees? Is it 1 lakh? How central is IT to your organization? More importantly, how central is IT to your strategy, right? That's not an easy question because yes, nowadays it has become much easier, but still you have to have a roadmap in terms of how you want to get there. And then what is that core play, let's say the role that is played by IT in your organization. To answer these questions, you have to have an understanding of the role IT plays in your startup or an entrepreneurial system, right? So these are some of the courses that you will take in the functional competence core, right? But then, once you go through all these different levels, after talking to a lot of people, professors, VCs, entrepreneurs, you name them, what we realized is there are 4 key skills that are part of being a successful entrepreneur, what we call as the entrepreneurial DNA. One is you have to have the leadership skills. Do you have the capability to lead people? Because essentially, you are being the founder, and then there will be people who will be working for you, right? Do you have the capacity and the skills to build an organization? Do you have the capacity to build a team? Do you have the capacity to organize a team and motivate that team? More importantly, communication, right? I was at a conference recently, and the keynote speaker made a very simple point. I made 2 points about entrepreneurship. One is, he says, being an entrepreneur is like playing in mud. It's messy, it's dirty, but then it's so much fun. We all did these as kids, right? But then the problem is most schools tell you that business is about building a wall using bricks. 1 brick, 2 brick, 3 brick in the cement, and the wall is done. But unfortunately, that's not the case, right? That's point number 1. But point number 2 is, he said, it's a simple case of creating a marketing niche. Dr. Sawhney also mentioned that. But then how do you communicate that market niche to your customers? How do you communicate to the customers that you have a solution to their problem? How do you communicate to the customers that you can really solve their problems? And more importantly, how can you play a boundary spanning role between the market and your employees and your investors and things like that? Because every single aspect of being an entrepreneur is about selling your idea to different stakeholders. Do you have those skills? Do you have those communication skills? Right? So we intend to impart you with those kinds of communication skills that Dr. would said. And finally, and more importantly, do you have the skills to create a strategy? Strategizing is not easy. I hear from so many people when they say, strategy, all they're talking about essentially is an operation plan, right? I'll do X, I'll do Y, these are my tactics, I'll put them on paper, and then it becomes my strat plan. But technically, that's not true in so many different cases, right? Professor, you've done so many of these where you've seen that there's a huge difference between a strategy and a tactic. So the question is, how do you draw the line? Yes, you have to be tactical, you have to do things on the ground, but at the same time, you have to have that long-term roadmap. You have to have that long-term strategy that will keep you on that road, right? The path which leads to wherever you want to go, right? How do you create that strategy? How do you even know that that is your strategy, and do you have the skills to create that strategy and communicate the strategy with the market, right? So these are some of the most exciting things that we want to teach students. The idea is not to develop a linear process through which people go through to become entrepreneurs, because that's almost impossible, right? And we also realize that. But then these skills are needed for our students to adapt. These skills are needed for our students to not predict, but adapt to the future. If you are in the right place and at the right time, then if you have the skills, then probably you can take advantage of the opportunities. But then you first need to have the skills, and the second thing is you need to have the mindset to see those opportunities, and these are the things that will happen in the classroom, right? So then you might say, you know what, every business school says this. I'm pretty sure every business school says this. So the question is, how is Woxsen different? I use the word ecosystem, right? It doesn't mean anything. So what is Woxsen trying to do that is different? What is Woxsen trying to do that is completely radical as opposed to any business school that tried anything similar? In addition to all the other exciting immersive experiences that you will see on our website, I truly urge you to go and download our curriculum catalog, right? But more importantly, there is one central being at Woxsen that we believe completely transforms the way we look at management education. And that is what we technically call as the innovation tower or the trade tower, right? So what exactly is the trade tower? Why are we harping about it? And why is this a central being at Woxsen, given what we have in terms of our vision? What we have in the trade tower is basically a structured process through which students can go through and try out their ideas. Now imagine a place, you have all these different ideas, you come to the school, you learn various things in the classroom, but then you don't have a lab where you can experiment all these things that you've learned, right? Imagine the excitement that you had as a kid when you went to the school, the teacher taught you gravity, but then you went to the lab, you did experiments, and then you figured out that there is gravity. Wow, right? There is gravity. Now imagine the same thing happening in a business school where you have all these wonderful ideas, you have all these exciting ideas, but then there is no single place where you can test them. The trade tower is the place where you can test them, right? Stage 1 is where we will have an innovation lab, right? There will be experts there who will help you refine your ideas. If you think you have an interesting idea, the people in the first level will actually help you visualize it. They'll actually help you build a prototype. They'll actually help you build a process around your idea so that you can start looking at your products and services through the eyes of the customers. Let's say you arrive at a point where you know that your products are really good. Then the second question is there a market for it? Right? Do you know that there is a demand in the market for your product? You can do simulations, you can do business analysis, you can do demand forecasting and things like that at the second level, where there will be consultants, there will be experts who will help you figure out in terms of where your product can sell, what your product can do, and is there a demand for it. Second level. But the third level is probably one of the most exciting parts of the trade tower. This is where you will get help to build a business plan around your idea, right? But more importantly, imagine a place where there are entrepreneurs and experts from all over the world who will come and interact with you, right? Imagine a place where you walk into a room with your idea or a business plan, and then, I mean, Steve Jobs is dead, but imagine Steve Jobs being there advising you in terms of how it should look in terms of your business plan. Or imagine a venture capitalist being there, or imagine a professor like Sawhney being there, who will help you understand what it takes to build a business plan around your idea, or a product, or a prototype, right? This is the place where you will find mentors for life. This is the place where you'll make friends for life. This is the place where, who knows, you might find your next co-founder. Because all said and done, they're very important, right? They are your lifeblood. They could be also your employees, right? And then you go through all these different structured processes, and then finally you arrive at a stage where what we have is called as the Woxsen Fund. Now this is an investor fund where you can pitch your ideas, and then if investors in that fund like it, they will actually invest in your business plans, right? So in one sense, what we are trying to create is a place where you come in with an idea, we help you refine that idea, we help you develop a business plan around it, and if the investing fund actually likes it, the investing fund will actually invest in your business plan. So in that sense, what we're trying to do is close the loop. In that sense, what we're trying to do is create an ecosystem where you go from point A to point Z of becoming an entrepreneur. And that's essentially the vision of Woxsen. Now, I'm trying to explain this in a more linear fashion. Obviously, life is not that linear. But then, this is our vision. This is what we intend to do. And we are very, very, very serious about it, right? I encourage you to visit our website, check out our campus plans. We are building a world-class campus, right? You can check out our visiting faculty pages. You can check out our permanent faculty pages. We're getting some of the best from the world. But even if we forget all about that, the idea is to create a system where people can come in, refine their ideas, and then find friends for life, find networks for life, and then build their careers in whichever direction they want, basically take control of their life. It doesn't matter whether you want to create a business of your own. It doesn't matter whether you want to be within an organization and still chart your own path. The kind of skills that we will provide you, the kind of practical experiences that we'll provide you will be useful anywhere in the world, as simple as that. And that's why the program is actually called as Postgraduate Program in Entrepreneur Development, because our vision is to develop and nurture entrepreneurs. So that's Woxsen's story. If you, I'm pretty sure we're running out of time, so I don't want to keep every one of you here. So if you have more specific questions about our vision, our curriculum, and things like that, I encourage you to stay back so that we can have a much more elaborate interaction. Otherwise, one more time, thank you very much for being here. It takes a lot to be here on a Tuesday evening. So thank you for making this a success.